It's probably a little bit too little and a little bit too late, and there's not a national response.
Now, you guys might have heard Congress just passed a $2 trillion coronavirus aid bill, the largest stimulus package in U.S. history. Now, that's a lot of money, $2 trillion, but with workers across the country staying at home and businesses shutting their doors, we are on the cusp of a full-on recession. So the question is, does the stimulus package go far enough, and can it be the jumpstart we need to avoiding an economic crisis? Well, we talked to two health experts and an economist about this $2 trillion question.
I don't think it's going to have the kind of economic traction that we need or we would like, because consumers don't have a good outlet to spend that money.
Is $1,200 going to be enough to cover the rent and cover those other bills? And so what we really need to be looking at is forbearance against some of those bills that people are going to have to pay in about a week when April 1st comes around. And this relief is not going to get there in time to allow people the relief that they're going to need.
First off, I think it's going to be magnitudes larger than 2008. So we saw unemployment hit about 10% in 2008. I'm actually, this is nice that you have actually an expert who's in New Orleans. And so I've been comparing this to what we saw in New Orleans after Katrina. You saw hundreds of thousands of people being displaced, tens of thousands of people moving to Houston. You saw the unemployment rate in New Orleans click up from about 5% all the way up to about 16% within a couple weeks. I'm looking at, let's say, New Orleans and Hurricane Katrina to establish a benchmark, but then multiply that times every major city in the United States. Not meaning to scare you, but we need to be realistic about the magnitude of this. And it's, think about New Orleans after Katrina, and then multiply it by every major city in the United States, and then multiply that by maybe 3. Because we're talking about unemployment, probably low unemployment rates would be 20-25%. You could have unemployment rates of upwards of 50% or 60%, right? I mean, your guest from LA, restaurants are closed, bars are closed. I mean, all these people have just been laid off or furloughed.
This is a national problem, but it's going to play out regionally. Because we don't have a coordinated national response, what we have is states taking leadership. So you've got New York and California shutting down. Those two states alone. I mean, I'm not sure how much of the U.S. economy is encompassed by those two states, but I think they control an outsized share of the U.S. economy. You add Illinois and Pennsylvania, and you're probably, I don't know, a third of the economy or something, just those handful of states. But the waves of the epidemic are going to happen at different points over time because the states are responding differently. So New York is going to have its wave now in the next few weeks, but as the curve begins to flatten and then recede for New York, we could expect that other states that are not preparing, that are not taking proactive steps, Florida, Oklahoma, Texas, states like that, they're going to start seeing those outbreaks occur in those states, but it won't happen at the same time as New York. So while New York's economy is shut down and New York is struggling to deal with this epidemic, and it's dealing with it as effectively, from where I sit, as effectively as you can expect any state to manage it, they'll get through it. But then as that region of the country begins to come back, we're going to find other regions going to start suffering.
It's a lot of jobs, but I think we'll come back very strong. The sooner we get back to work, every day that we stay out, it gets harder to bring it back.
I mean, I can understand, I think we all want to get back to normal as quickly as possible, but I think those estimates are likely, really inaccurate. So, in California, Governor Newsom has been talking about months. In Los Angeles, Mayor Garcetti has also been talking about months. So, even as we have potentially these regional waves, sort of spike and then begin to plateau and recede, I think the time scale is just really different than what I think the president and others might like to see happen, though that will obviously have economic impacts.
And because we are one country and people move among the states, people are going to reinfect people from other states who are moving. So people from Oklahoma will visit Louisiana. So while our our curve will probably recede before they do. And as they come to visit us in Oklahoma, they will infect people in Oklahoma. So the overall duration of this outbreak is going to be much longer because we are responding regionally and we're going to have ripples happening in different parts of the country at different times. And that has implications for the economy as well, because we have a national economy, but we also have many local economies in this country.
That's where I could see in states like California sealing up borders or creating more regulations around movement between the borders in states that have done an effective job at controlling the spread.
There were goods and services that people could go out and buy. Consumers could go hit the market. Businesses could go hit the market. The problem with this is that it almost doesn't matter how much money you throw at people. If they can't go out and consume, if they can't engage in normal business activity, then you're not likely to get any traction. So you give people $5,000, what are you gonna just go buy a bunch of socks on Amazon or something? Like it doesn't gonna have the same kind of traction if you can't go out to a local business and spend the money.
And these stimulus checks are expected to be sent out within the next few weeks once that final bill is approved. Also, unemployment benefits will be extended to cover any new circumstances brought on by the pandemic. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to let us know in the comments what you guys want to know about the stimulus.